Hello and welcome to season 4, episode 10 of The Dive. I'm Kobe, joined by MarkZ and Azael for the first week recapping LCS at home. We got one in the bag.
True. Yeah, it worked out. We got through a whole week. It was actually a lot more smooth than I thought it was going to be. I was kind of stressing out going into this. I think I told you, Kobe, where I was like, oh God, is every game going to be delayed? Is there going to be so many technical issues? Is the feed going to cut out? I'm not going to be even seeing what I'm casting. Like, what's going to happen? But it was great.
Yeah, same with the AD was like might be canceled until like Friday. We were still on standby if they could figure out a good solution for getting all four of us on screen and mic synced up and everything. And we were in tech checks. I always mess that up. I say tech test, tech check, test. We were in there from like 3 p.m.
By the way, tech tests and tech checks are like the same thing.
I know, but my brain combines. I'm saying my brain combines test and check. So I always say like test,
checks,
checks, test. Yeah.
You know what this reminds me of? Whenever we have international events and the European casters come over, they really put a lot of emphasis on tongue twisters before they get started, specifically Deficio, because, you know, when he first got started, he got flamed a lot for his accent. And that's what Mark reminds me of him, like just spamming these like Sally sells sheet shell down by the sheet. And I was like, oh my God, you do those better than I do.
Yeah, except it's 2 words. I'm still messing it up. But yeah, we were on Friday, like all of us were, and the engineers as well were the ones really doing the work, but we were just sitting on standby for like 6-7 hours while they worked with our feeds and stuff. So yeah, I didn't know if I was actually even going to be on at all this weekend because the AD was sus, but they all got figured out.
Same, except that mine got figured out.
Oh no,
it got figured out with the thumbs down.
Yours got figured out that I was casting for you.
Yeah,
that's definitely frustrating. I mean, the internet situation is something that's obviously completely out of your control. I had a more minor version of that where we had to stop using my webcam on AD just because so many people are using their internet at home and streaming, you know, Netflix, streaming YouTube, etc. And those things crush the ISPs, and it's such a heavier load than normal that sometimes people's internet is just getting blasted.
Part of me wonders though if that's even the cause, because I hate ISPs in general. Like even when there's nothing going on at like 3 o'clock in the morning. No one quarantined, just an average like Tuesday night, because that's when like my night off, that's when our weekends are. I'm having ISP problems. So I'm like, you know what? You don't get a pass just because times are wild right now.
So I don't actually ever have problems. So I'm pretty lucky with that. But I have been having problems since the quarantine started. What were you gonna say, Kobe?
It's funny for me because previously here at the apartment, I have had moments where I complain about it. I'm playing League or something and I get super high spikes, and it has never affected Travis until now. So Travis is always like, something's wrong with your computer, something's wrong with your stuff.
Just
and
being
now
a
he's
baby.
like, what? We gotta fix this.
Gonna put the full force of TGI behind this investigation.
Yeah, he actually has, like, he's just buying super expensive routers, trying to like fix anything he can.
He's throwing money at it.
Yeah. So we're struggling, but I think hopefully I can get on this weekend, because I was watching our feed during the weekend and it looked better, talking to engineers, getting them to like fix some things. So, you know, fingers crossed, hopefully. But I guess, I mean, has this kind of affected your guys' gaming or day-to-day life as well? Because that for me was one of the things. Is
no gym.
Not only could I can't go to gym. You know, you can't go outside.
Gains, they're just melting away.
But I was also having problems. I couldn't even, you know, play League and stuff.
Yeah.
For me, it's just felt really weird. I think if I lived by myself, I would be going really stir crazy. Like obviously, I live with Joanne, so that makes it a bit easier to have someone here to talk to and whatnot. Because I was thinking about, you know, the last couple apartments I lived before was completely by myself, and I'm like, man, that would have been horrible. I don't know how well I would have dealt with that, but even you know, having someone here, having someone to talk to, my pets and stuff, I've just realized I'm really used to having options. You know, that's the biggest thing for me, is even if I choose to stay home on a weekend and do nothing, it was like that was the decision I came to. It wasn't my only option, and I'm trying to be pretty good about just staying home and not going out to do anything, right? Because we need to take it serious if we want this to get better. So yeah, it's just weird to like not have the option to go out and get a coffee, not have the option to go out and eat food, or some of these things that I was pretty used to doing.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest change for me is I'm not a people person going out, going to bars and stuff like that, but I go to the movies all the time. I probably go to the movies around once a week. I'm a big movie buff. And so like, I just can't go out to the movies now. And it feels really weird. And so while I don't want to be out often, so my like general day-to-day isn't actually too different beyond like the LCS working from home and not going into the office 4 days a week, which is a pretty big difference.
Yeah.
All things considered.
Big.
But the at home stuff with not being able to just go, like you said, get a coffee. We go to cafes pretty often and stuff. So it's definitely weirder, but I think I'm doing fine. I don't think I've gone crazy yet. I don't know on the crazy meter where you guys are at.
You never know when you pass the threshold of going crazy, by the way. We'll tell you, I think.
I show up with like no shirt on like in a week and you're like, Mark, I think
Mark's still like, I don't think I've gone
crazy. If you really think about it, it makes sense. Like, why would you put a shirt on if we're just inside all the time? So it's laundry and then you have to go outside. So stop wearing clothes.
Because the aliens, they took over TSM, they're ruining the drafts.
Man. They're like, good point, Mark.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think the LCS people are all bots. I think this is an experiment.
I think it's definitely. I don't feel like I've gone too stir crazy yet. Actually, I feel like my dogs have been helping me with that because taking them out for a walk every day. Like that's pretty much the only time I leave my house is going out for a walk with the dogs. So that's been kind of nice. I would also say it is very different just not even being in the office and just little social interactions that you have and stuff. So I've been trying to think about ways, the dive actually like helps, like being on Kids and chatting with your friends is kind of like a simulation of what you might have. But I've been trying to think of other ways to make it feel like different between work days and home days too. Because my separation before between a weekend and a work day was that I'm not in the office, that I'm at home, right? And if you're always at home, it kind of always feels like you're in the office, even if you're not working, because you're on the computer and this is now my workspace. I've kind of gotten used to that. So I need to come up with some good ways to kind of create like a separation between work mode and home mode or relax mode, even if it's all in the same place.
That's the clothing trick right there.
You're onto something, Mark.
It's just only wear clothes during work hours as soon as you're off.
Yeah. I mean, I also miss I'm like a hugger person. I like even like physical touch with anyone. I don't have like Travis is here, but we don't really
even more reason to get a little fuzzy buddy like this.
I actually kind of agree with Kobe though, because I was watching the games in person with everyone in our like voice channel, and it's like Crumbs, me, you, Azael, and Dash, and we're all talking the whole game, but it doesn't feel the same at all as like seeing each other in person. And even like the 30 minutes before we went live here, like talking crap and having fun, it's not the same as when we're all getting our smoothies and like it's just, I don't know, I miss those moments. I find myself missing them more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Oh, time for some good news then, because the LCK is coming back. You get some more league content that can fill your day or fill your night if you watch it live.
Yeah. I'm excited for it to be back, and I mean it's just good news in general to see more leagues figuring out some issues and being able to kind of get their stuff running. We've obviously been seeing LEC come back, LCS come back. It's great for LCK to be coming back, and for more leagues around the world to be figuring things out. And that also, I don't know if you had something to say on that, but that leads right into an honor I had, which I think was actually something that was really cool this last weekend, was how traditional sports are basically using esports and gaming to kind of fill the void. So my honor is esports, is video games here.
The entire industry.
Everything. because it was so cool actually seeing, so I don't know if you guys have watched the F1 racing Netflix documentary, but there was professional F1 drivers competing in an F1 video game on Twitch. One of the guys had, I think Lando Norris had like 100,000 viewers on his Twitch stream, him playing the F1 video game, in a chair and stuff. Ebai had, I think at one point, I don't know, 150, 180,000 people watching FIFA with actual La Liga pros, like watching professional footballers playing FIFA on Twitch. NASCAR was doing NASCAR races with professional drivers. Like, this is so cool, I think. And it was also one of the only times I've seen a wholesome response, and I'm not saying the whole response was, but from traditional sports viewers, because normally there's always kind of the video games on ESPN and the whole crowd is like, "Geez, goddamn,
this
video
isn't
games,
sports."
And it's the old man yells at cloud, right? And there was, I'd seen a number of comments, people were kind of screenshotting and posting on Twitter, and I think I saw Slasher post some that people were like, wow, these NASCAR races are just as good as the real thing, and like video games are cool. And, and it was kind of like, you discovered it for the first time, so maybe we're converting some people, get some more people at least playing some NASCAR video games.
Yeah, I heard too that like some of the NASCAR like professional real world drivers were playing like the esport drivers. Was there like crossover? I thought I saw there was. That's sick to me too. Like if there's a future where like the best NBA 2K player is playing like LeBron James and like all this stuff, like that sound, because they have a 2K league, so it'd be really sick to see like all the crossovers happen in the future.
I think the real pros probably get slammed though.
They're definitely going to have to balance the team there. It's funny though, because a lot of real pros for other sports do play a lot of video games. Like, I have a bunch of like football players and stuff that follow me and like randomly are like super big TSM fans or something.
Oh yeah. There's one guy. Oh, what's his name? I see him tweet sometimes.
Oni O'Neill.
Yeah,
him too. But I actually kind of wanted to talk on the LCK and LPL leagues. Like the League of Legends leagues coming back, because I've been super stressed at night, so I've been staying up super late and just watching the LPL live. And it's actually been so fun having it back. IG had been undefeated until last night. And I don't know if you guys have been keeping up, but there's this team that's mostly new rookies, E-Star, and they have Xiaoxi from Flash Wolves, who moved over when LMS collapsed. But this team is sick. They defeated FPX at the beginning of the year, and then they defeated the undefeated Invictus Gaming last night and actually broke their streak. And so it's just cool to see another one of these like hype teams made up of a bunch of rookies coming in and beating a lot of the older teams. Plus the games are just action packed still, like what you would expect.
I don't like seeing a team of rookies show up and slam people. It makes me jealous. Like, where's NA's team of rookies coming together and beating the crap out of some people? Damn you, Griffin and damn Juan.
Well, hopefully E-Star works out better than Griffin did when it comes time for the important games, Yeah. But yeah, LPL is hype, man. I always try to at least keep up with IG. At the very least, because I really like watching them. I really like watching the Shy. But it is fun to have LPL back, and they're a pretty action-packed league, and it did feel like there was a little bit of LPL leaking into NA this week when we had Fiora top and Calista top and this sort of stuff. I think is really, really fun to see these kind of variety of picks, and that's one of the things I've always liked about LPL. Is I've always felt like LPL is the best. For lack of a better term, red side league. Essentially, they are the best at playing that side in draft because they are most willing to play true lane counters and play around these specific win conditions that require you to dominate lane, which is one of the things I think is really, really fun to watch about their league, where a lot of the other leagues around the world will have a last pick red side and it's like last pick top lane, Aatrox or Ornn or whatever, and it's like a 50-50 matchup, sometimes even a losing matchup, but it's just good for the team comp. And LPL is much more lane focused in that regard, where they're willing to say, no, we're actually going to all or nothing this game on Twin.
So did you Did you watch the IG one last night versus?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Because it was so. They use a late round pick for picking Elise jungle into Olaf jungle, and I would never pick Elise into Olaf because Olaf level 6 ultimate just runs over Elise, and Elise as a champion works on bursting you down. She's high upfront burst. You cocoon into Q, go spider form, full combo, and rarely can get 100% to 0 on Olaf. If you don't 100% to 0 him, he heals back up with W, just murders you. And Elise is like, oh, I used everything, and like can't get away. But it's because they have the Renekton top already for the matchup to try, and they actually go top and get the kill on Ning, who's playing the Olaf before he's level 6. He just like walks up, gets cocooned, and they snowball this game a lot off their bottom lane as well. But I just thought that was super cool because seeing that sometimes you're looking at it as jungler, you're just like, all right, they got the late round picks here coming in. What's the counter going to be? It's
the self counter. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Big brain play though. If you are Elise and you get the kills early and you snowball, don't allow him any room to work with. I just thought that was that was cool. So I really like the E-Star kind of story, and I'm definitely gonna keep following it through the year.
I'm gonna have to watch some more of those. Maybe I'll catch up with that game after. All right, so I already did my honor. I will give you my report, and then we can bounce around to you guys. So my report is, I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a bunch of people blaming video games for the ISPs being bad. That is my report. People thinking that these video games, like I saw some stats, World of Warcraft taking, for example, 10 megabytes an hour, like of bandwidth essentially. By comparison, HD Netflix takes around 3 gigs an hour, right?
Yeah.
So these people are sitting there watching Netflix, and these goddamn video gamers are ruining my Netflix.
I want to.
That's my report.
I want to find the tweet too, because this guy is like the biggest threat to.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what?
Excuse me? To be fair, he did get roasted on that tweet, but there was also a lot of people like, yeah, you tell him, these goddamn video gamers.
Yeah, it had hundreds of thousands of likes. So I was like, oh my god.
I mean, those kinds of things too. I just make me so Kobe. Quick, talk crap about Kobe. You can't hear us. Those kinds of things just. Because the technical aspect is what I think about, where I'm like, we're sending like small packets of like telemetry data and information, whereas you're sending full video and audio. And like no one, if you ever tried to explain that to anyone, it's just completely doomed.
Yeah,
and
you just have to show them data. That's it.
Yeah, look at this big bar graph compared to your my little bar graph. That's you.
Make a pie graph.
Yeah.
The amount of the internet being used before we run out. The internet is a finite amount.
Well, you can already guess what mine was. Of course, my report was going to be my ISP because we had a bunch of problems. I couldn't be on the broadcast. But I'll skip ahead to my honor then, because we already have gone on about that for quite a while.
Yeah.
I want to honor Xmithie, because this man never fails with any team. It's actually insane. Every team he joins, he makes it work no matter what. Last time he joined Immortals as well, nobody's expecting anything. He's clearly, to me, the best all-time North American jungler. I think the only one in the conversation previously for me had been Meteos. Because of his time dominating on Cloud9 and also having, similar success, like joining Phoenix One, stuff like that, and still being able to perform well. But Xmithie, I think, is just outstretched everyone now with the duration of his career. He's the oldest one playing as well. So it's a hurrah for us boomer gamers that he can still do it. And not only does he do it in League, by the way, he's really good at a bunch of other games, even though he gets flamed for playing other games, is because of his natural talent.
Yeah, and I think he deserves a little bit of leeway, because it's like he's found, or maybe it's just raw, like you said, talent, but I think he's found a way to like not burn out through playing these other games. So like, there's not many people I would give a pass to for, I guess, slacking in air quotes, but Xmithie has proven that whatever his method is working. Because like you said, the body of the career is what makes it so hard to challenge anyone to put beside him on the best NA jungler pedestal. Like Sven Skaren has been incredible in North America during his time, but he's had some bad splits as well. But it's only been like 3 or 4 years compared to like the 8 of Xmithie. And yeah, I don't know, maybe Blabber, if he like just absolutely dominates the next 4 years, can take over. But like we're talking about 4 years down the road.
80% win rate in LCS.
That's what I was ridiculous.
He's definitely the best in recent years, but all time he's got to put those numbers up for a while. It's like, how long does it take for LeBron to overtake Jordan? You know, like that they started that conversation at the midpoint of LeBron's career, but it's like, all right, it's been 6 more years. We're still talking about it, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Xmithie has had an amazing run, and even obviously it's not a 1-to-1 type thing, but I still just can't get over the fact that, you know, Broxa comes in, takes his spot on Liquid, and you just compare the 4 people around him based on expectations from, you know, from their level of play and their recency, like, of success, and Immortals are doing better than Team Liquid. And I just think that's mind blowing that, you know, with this squad with Soaz and Aka and, you know, and Apollo and Hakamo and everything, it's like compared to Doublelift, Core JJ, Jensen, Impact, right? It's just mind blowing that roster is doing better. And it's not all Xmithie. It's not, there's a lot of other confounding factors very clearly, but I still think it's just crazy because I didn't think that the Immortals roster would work at all. And here we are.
And it's also funny too. I think it was you and Freak, and Freak was like, you know what? Team Liquid didn't replace Xmithie. He replaced Team Liquid.
Yeah.
It's like, are you that now?
True.
It's it's pretty comical how it's all turned out. What about you, Mark? You got
all right.
What's your honor? Cody? Or you do both. Never mind. Sorry.
That was my honor was Xmithie.
I forgot. Yeah, and then your report was the ISP.
Report was ISPs. By the way, on the ISP thing, one tiny little more. We paid for like the highest tier.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter because
tier 3 sub.
ISPs are limited by what they allocate to your node of your area. So when the area is overloaded like this, because everybody's home and working from home and doing all that stuff, it doesn't matter what you're paying for because there's no more upload for you to get.
Yeah, and sometimes you just have a crappy connection to the node. Like I had that where I was living a couple of years ago, where I tried like literally everything you could possibly try at home, and I was having texts come every week, and just never could fix it because whatever, it was a new building, however they built it or the setup was, it just couldn't get good internet. But my honor is Animal Crossing: New Horizons. It's taken over the internet. It's taken over my girlfriend's life. I don't think she even knew I was home. She was so in her little world, just pulling up weeds and planting trees and stuff. So
catching tarantulas.
Yeah, that game came out at the perfect time for a lot of people. So good job, Animal Crossing, for keeping some people from going crazy, especially my girlfriend when I'm working. You know, like I'm shut in with the door closed and she's just in there. That was really nice. It was really fun to pop out and just see like, oh, your village is suddenly way better because she's doing the time skipping around, little cheater. So that's I don't think no one you guys know are really into Animal Crossing, right?
Based on my sample size of the 10 videos I've seen on Twitter, if you post an Animal Crossing video on Twitter, you get 100,000 likes. So that's what I know about the game.
You mentioned Tom Nook. There you go. Here's 10K likes.
Yeah.
It actually made me kind of sad because a lot of my friends online that I like to play, we play League and we play various like shooters and battle royales and stuff. Half of them are playing Animal Crossing now, and nobody wants to play League with me anymore. And I'm feeling sad because
time to join the gang. Get in there, Kobe. Design your villager or whatever.
Yeah. So my report is actually game related. It's Golden Guardians for this weekend, and it's not like the org or the players. It's just the entire kind of situation with like the Huhi substitute coming in. They went 1-1 that week, and one of the games was really, really slow and boring 2 weeks ago. And then they had the one versus C9 where they lost. And so it's like, okay, well, we'll see what happens this week. And I was really disappointed. I didn't see any significant improvements from having Huhi over Keith. Still a lot of ISO deaths happening. That was like the one category we were hoping would be fixed a little bit, would be like some kind of vision control and in teamwork. They still were dying in side lanes all the time and did not have good coordination. And then the second game, he basically looked like early season Keith, where he was getting picked off too far forward and died a ton of times. So the whole thing feels bad. I don't know. I don't have any special insight behind the scenes of why the substitution was made, what reasons were given to Keith for why he was subbed out. But those two losses combined make it very difficult for them to make playoffs. I think almost impossible. I think with a 2-0 and some other stuff happening, it's still technically possible to get to 8 and 10. But overall, I'm just super disappointed with like what felt like a late season push attempt that didn't seem to make anything better and just made Keith kind of a scapegoat. And the whole thing just feels bad to me.
Yeah, my understanding was they did it for communication reasons. That's kind of what I had heard, was that they wanted more better comms or more shot calling or something like that. That is kind of the reasoning that I understood. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a bummer for Keith. And when you make a move that feels bad and then also doesn't work, it's going to feel really, really bad. And I mean, the weekend they did it, this was before things got postponed at LCS. We had an Arrow and a coach sideline interview, and he was even saying it was one of the hardest decisions he had to make because he felt really bad about it. So definitely a bit of a rough one for Golden Guardians.
Yeah. Tragic.
All right. Well, speaking about, 8 wins and the playoff picture and everything there. Actually, before we get into that, I know, Kobe, you've been grinding some Wukong. I know I've been seeing you tweet about it, given the build insights. What's the tech, Kobe? How do we get the elo?
So day one, I started playing it. I was like, oh my God, it's busted. And I made that tweet. And I was like, Wukong's busted. Get in there, get some games now. And then I woke up in the morning and there, I saw this hot picks tweet from the Balance team. They're like, Wukong is a little bit online, so we're pulling back. And I was like, well, that didn't take long. I still think he's really good though. So I still kept playing him a decent amount on my Smurf. I do think that he's better suited for top lane because it does feel a bit awkward as jungle. You're always a little bit more poor, and you feel obligated to stop off at your jungle item because jungle item is so efficient. But building warrior on new Wukong, which is more bruiser oriented, I mean, it still is good, but it does feel like if I was top lane right now, I could be rushing to my Trinity Force. I could be powering through the items I really want to get, Death Dance, so I can do this like 1v9er. I still think that it's a super good champion, but maybe I'll play it more when I get autofilled to top lane. Basically right now though, with the rework, all you need to know, you can ult twice. I have killed so many people, and in the all chat, all caps, and they're just like, what the F? Like, what? How do you ult again? And getting the double knockup is insane. Plus your clone. There's a lot of fun stuff to do with your clone now that it's more interactive, does a lot of damage, which makes you think a lot more about how you're going to play the fight, because you really do need your clone's damage now. So your order of skills matters a lot. Your clone placement matters a lot. And I just think for me, it was a more enjoyable champion than I had ever played before, because when you play before, pretty much everybody, I'll just go full lethality. You try and one-shot someone. You do. You're feeling pretty good. You don't. Hey, you feel like shit.
Yeah, I find him not working too well in my comps though. Chrono Vanguard is not great for my setup that I've been really enjoying. So, and sometimes it's hard to get his ult off without stacking items on him. Okay. So I haven't been using Wukong too much.
I really like this whole patch overall though, because they nerfed a lot of champions that I hated for solo queue, like Garen and Darius, just these meatballers that snowball a lot of games. But also, Aphelios got nerfed again. I finally feel just peachy about this champion because they nerfed some of the most annoying guns: the Crescendum, the Severum, that's the healing, and the Chakram ones for all the extra damage when you get close to him. So I feel like he's finally in a good spot on live. Plus the Senna nerfs I think are good. She was out of line for allowing basically 2 carries on the opponent team. So I've been super happy with 10-6.
Did you try any, I know Brand, they got the jungle buff. Have you tried it?
I haven't played it yet because I am mostly a melee champion player, and I prefer champions with dashes. I've played a bunch of Brand though. I'm sure he's strong, but basically he can just kill the camps quicker now. You're still Brand though. You're still gonna play the same way.
Yeah, should be interesting. I know Kindred got buff, which I'm always just kind of happy about because that's like my most played champion. So I'm definitely been enjoying that, but it's relatively small changes.
Yeah. You may also be happy to know that Shen got some buffs because Shen Jungle, an old favorite of mine, and I know that you liked it as well.
Yeah.
I actually played a lot of it. They increased the cap on the monster damage.
Oh, the Q damage on non-hit.
So
okay.
It's not like OP by any means, but if you love playing Shen, I just think it's a really fun champion. I think you should give that one another try.
It's like the defensive Karthus, you just want to AFK farm the jungle and press R, but to save your homies.
So I don't AFK farm the jungle anymore. I like to get in there and beat some fools up. Hail of Blades. Because Aftershock, you're always like, it's kind of cool.
You gotta hit your taunt. Who could do that?
Yeah, exactly. Hail of Blades. I think that's more my style, right? You just but it's very important to get your key pass through, of course. But it's Hail of Blades Shen. You also get a lot of WTFs in all chat after 100%ing somebody.
Dude, early game damage with Hail of Blades is actually really good on a lot of junglers. I remember, Sicko Scott. So he's a jungler. Well, he used to be challenger years ago. But I remember playing a game with him, and now he's all washed up. And you can tell him I said that. I remember playing a game with him, and we get this Mundo who is Hail of Blades, and he was just like pinging the Mundo's Hail of Blades, kind of like laughing about it, right? And he goes, he's playing Rek'Sai or something, and he goes to Scuttle. He's like, I'm gonna kill this dumbass. What's he doing at Scuttle? He just gets slapped down by this Hail of Blades Mundo, just bopping him with the E. It was really, really funny. So that's I always think of that when I think of Hail of Blades junglers.
Oh yeah.
All right, LCS. We're getting into the final week 9. Had originally thought that it was going to have to be, more like you need 9 wins. So 9 wins guarantees you a tiebreaker. Now it's very, very likely that you will get in, but you're at least guaranteed a tiebreaker. But 8 wins is actually the mark right now. So it is possible for teams like TL to just get 1 win and maybe could get in based on whatever else happens. But Cloud9 still the only team officially locked. TSM, FlyQuest, and EG, surprisingly, is now right up there too, all tied for second, and they are all guaranteed a tiebreaker. Right now, 100 Thieves, Immortals sitting at 8-8. They are that playoff line right now, and then obviously TL 1 behind them, Golden Guardians and Dig 2 back.
Yeah, and I think the close of the between 8 and 10 and 9 and 9, I think when you look at a lot of the games that are being played this weekend, while 8 and 10 can make it, usually like you getting to 8 and 10, unless it's like Dignitas winning 2 games in some of those, it's hard to get to 8 and 10 and make it while the other teams don't pick up a win or 2 and make it 9 and 9. Because like Immortals and EG play, Immortals and Dig play. So like Dig needs to 2-0 to stop Immortals from picking up one more win, and then EG can lose to Immortals, still be in playoffs potentially at 9 and 9 or something. And then Dig has 9 wins, Immortals has 9 wins. So a lot of the 8 and 10 teams have to pray that like all these circumstances break out that stop Immortals from picking up a win and 100 Thieves from picking up a win versus CLG and some of those kinds of things.
Heads to head matter too, right? Like TL, I think is 0-2 against Immortals, and maybe even 0-2 against some other of those playoff teams. What are you gonna say?
I think we should start with Team Liquid because they're basically on the button right now for playoffs, right? They are the team that is just outside. And Immortals and 100 Thieves are right above them. Team Liquid have to play Cloud9 and FlyQuest as their last 2 games of the split.
Doomed.
So it is actually looking pretty rough for Team Liquid, especially since Immortals keep racking up the wins. I feel like they're going to be fine. So then maybe you're thinking, at least me, I'm eyeballing 100 Thieves as the one to be the gatekeepers to keep Team Liquid out of playoffs. And 100 Thieves have a CLG game, which is definitely winnable, and they have a TSM game, which is also winnable, but more difficult. Considering TSM's performance this last weekend, they didn't kind of continue on that skyrocketing path. People thought after taking down Cloud9, having another of the 2-0 weeks, they were just going to shoot to the moon. Still within reach. So I'm super excited, especially for these Team Liquid games, these 100 Thief games, and Immortals ones, because they're all so close there fighting for that last spot.
Right. And I think TL should just be, they should be fun to watch just because it's a lot of the biggest names in the league, and going up against FlyQuest and C9 also have a lot of big names. So that alone should make it fun. Just the quality of games and the names in them should be good. And then the playoff implications as well. Really, really interesting. Like you said, the Immortals Dig game and the 100 Thieves CLG game are maybe the two most important games this weekend, because if they pick those up, they both move to 9 because they're sitting at 8 and 8. And so that would move the playoff bar up to 9 and 9, which drastically impacts one. That would be taking out Dig themselves. It puts more pressure on TL if they're trying to move up and in there. So TL is going to be watching those two games very close to themselves, I assume. And all they can do is try and win out. And so they basically need to get to 9 and 9. And then if those teams win, that still keeps them in that conversation if they win out.
Yeah, I mean, starting with the TL FlyQuest game for me, if we're going to be looking at TL, I don't feel like FlyQuest is so insurmountable, right? They have actually been dropping more games. They've been caught by two teams, TSM and EG, both up there with them. FlyQuest had an opportunity to lock their playoff spot, couldn't do that this weekend because 10 wins would have fully locked. So I don't think that it's some insurmountable game for TL. And I think if we get the TL with kind of the same similar draft to what we saw on Sunday, that's a team that I actually have quite a bit of confidence in. Maybe not against Cloud9, but against someone like FlyQuest, I do think it's possible, because I really have been feeling like so many of these TL drafts have been really handicapping themselves. Against EG on Saturday, I was not a fan of that draft. I felt like they were just playing so much of this kind of sit and wait style game where they have the Trundle. It's not even Trundle into a tank. They have this Cassio mid into LeBlanc, and EG just ran over them with Jizuke playing incredibly on the LeBlanc mid lane. LeBlanc seemed like a ban that maybe was obvious, but even discounting that, it just felt like your game plan is just to wait until your champions are better than theirs, right? And that I think is just never an interesting game plan and never a good game plan against strong teams. Sunday, I actually really liked what they did, where they have Brox and Core JJ able to start fights, able to engage. They have impact on a weak side champion, Gangplank, who can scale up. I don't care if he plays Gangplank or tanks or anything. I just want him a scaling weak side champion. And then Jensen and Doublelift are two of the best players in our league's history. Give them things that have agency to create action for themselves. And I think that Zoe and Zai were great picks for that. Jensen was making things happen in mid lane, constantly pressuring his opponent. And that's something that is so much harder to do if you're going to sit back and play these scaling kind of wait for late style games. Like, it just doesn't seem like it fits the meta.
Yeah. So right now, I would say there's no guarantees in any of the games for the LCS because everyone is so close. So I don't think any of these games are insurmountable for either side, for any team. For FlyQuest going into this match, I think they do. I think they do have a better shot with solo. I have actually liked that they added solo. They get him a little tiny bit of practice with the academy team, move him right up to practice with the LCS team. And I do think that this team has shown really strong focus on win conditions, both of their comp and the opponent's comp. And when you're talking about Team Liquid and kind of you didn't like the slower game that they started the weekend with, it did feel like that was Team Liquid kind of like, oh my goodness, Doublelift has gone on record so many times talking about how we know how to win when we really need to win. It's me and Jensen on scaling champions, and we play 5-on-5. We play for later. But this Team Liquid team does not get lane leads anymore by themselves. They don't really outskill their opponents and then bring this stronger 5v5 at some point. I think that
they had no engage, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. They had Varus ult is not good enough for your engage.
You need follow up behind it or something.
Yeah,
they didn't have it. And I think FlyQuest, their second game was really sad for me too, just because I saw solo the first game. I was like, oh, that was good. And then the second game, the level 1 is it's pure scrim game. versus 100 Thieves, where there's an invade bot side, there's another fight support bot side, then there's this insanely long red buff skirmish that mid laners collapse to, and then he gets chunked out, has to burn his flash to get away from Meteos, who traded flashes with him. The wave, it's just 50-50 RNG random pushed against him. Or I guess it's pushing into Someday. So he loses his flash. He's low health. Someday gets to the wave. He has to TP back. No flash, no TP. Wave frozen on him in a bit of a tough matchup. It was just super doomed for solo. So I felt bad for him, but I do agree it should be a better matchup or a better situation for FlyQuest in the long run, especially heading into playoffs. Because I think FlyQuest should be able to make it in. TL is a winnable game. Then they have Golden Guardians as well.
Yeah, that game was actually so silly.
It was a ridiculous game.
Whole level 1, despite bot side, and then there's the supportal combat, the 1v1, dropping the ignite, almost killing one supporter. They're just like fighting to the death. Then that top side, the top side invade makes more sense, trying to take away, I guess, the red buff. I think it was from MarkZ, utilizing the Trundle and everything there.
He's a bad level 1 champ.
Yeah, like that made sense. But then, I mean, Solo got his flash burn, and he really got screwed on the push on the RNG, because I watched it back on YouTube to see what actually happened, because we're like, how did this get so frozen? Did somebody push it in at reset? It was just straight RNG. The minions just stack in a weird way sometimes, where it like basically just double stacked and pushed away from him. But he also, to be fair, at level 1, stayed around to try to chase down Meteos, who he knew was level 2 with the red buff. That's why he had to flash and base way later and then TP back. So that game was really stupid. Honestly, that was such a bad game. Like, that whole game was just garbage.
And you didn't even mention the play bottom, Power of Evil's Ari. He flashes under the
it hits the charm and just dies.
And he missed his Q and everything on the charm target. But even if he hadn't missed his Q, the guy was like full health. You weren't gonna kill him for like level 4.
So they had heal and Nautilus W as well, and you're just like,
have you seen the clip that Chakrez went into the post-game thread of that game for Ari, and he linked like 20 Twitch clips of pro players all just flaming Ari as a champion? And there's a clip of Froggen at level 5 hitting a charm and full comboing a Talon under turret. It does 400 damage. So like, there's no way they kill that Nautilus there.
Yeah,
it was
banger.
That game was an oof. To be fair,
burner.
He did at least get some stuff done later on the R.
Yeah, he found some flanks. Yeah.
R was kind of a fun pick. I didn't hate it, but that game was people were kind of, I know the pros were memeing about like, fun scrims today, haha. But that was the first game that actually, having watched scrims, actually felt like a scrim. That was a scrim that should have been remade, right? Like after the level 1.
After level 1, it's like, all right, good troll, guys. Let's restart. Let's take this from the top.
Okay, GG. Yeah, I don't know. I just that one was ridiculous. But FlyQuest, they still got some stuff going on, and I totally agree with you, Kobe. I do think solo will be an upgrade, because I think at least as long as the personality stuff is working, because that is kind of what we have heard was the reasoning for him not getting a spot in the league, when I think a lot of people considered him like top 5, top 6 top laner in the league when he was in the LCS, and to go from that to not even an academy spot was pretty surprising. So, as long as they are meshing personality-wise and everything like that, I think Solo's a strong player.
All right. What about the other of the top 4s here? We got Evil Geniuses and TSM. EG, I remember a couple episodes ago, we were talking about, are they even going to be in playoffs? Now we're talking, are they going to be in the upper bracket? Are they going to
win Worlds?
Yeah. Are they going to be top 4? Will they win? You got to win MSI first. It might be like a couple weeks before Worlds at this point. We don't know, but
it's actually the play-in tournament now.
Yeah, but is EG gonna return to the heights of video game dominance, which was kind of their manifesto that they wanted to?
That's true. Great glorious history over on EG.
They were never had any good personalities on there.
Lots of them.
Literal world champions on EG. EG's great, man. I actually think that they've become a really exciting team. It felt like at the start of the split, they're just kind of coin flipping and seeing what happens. It feels like they have truly managed to maintain the level of aggression and dominance and solo carry threat that Jizuke can have. they kept that. They kept the consistency of Bang, and they eliminated what felt like these really, really kind of low reward, high risk plays that they had been going for, that they were getting a lot of criticism for, Jizuke in particular, but Svenskeren was getting criticism for that sort of stuff as well. They seem to have really tempered their aggression well, and they have become an exciting team. And Jizuke, I think, has become one of the best players in the league. I think he has really been crushing it these last couple of weeks.
Player of the
and
week.
He has had some of the very best individual carry performances of anyone in the league, I think. So they are a really fun team to watch. And I think they are better than what their record shows, despite the fact that they are tied for second right now, because they, like, you can see the improvement from them week over week. And it felt like, a couple weeks ago, they started to really figure it out, and they have maintained that. So I'm very excited to see where this team goes. I really hope that we have like a third strong contender. I think we were talking about this yesterday, Mark, where it's like right now people are like, okay, well, TSM could maybe beat C9 in a playoff play if they're playing really well, because they have really high highs. They beat them once. C9 clearly is a championship contender. Who's our third horse, right? And I think that if EG's playing great, hey, maybe it could be them.
Yeah, I mean, like we're saying, player of the week for Jizuke. I hope he gets a little statue. I don't know what's going to go on with the MasterCard 3D printed things now with everything going on.
Have a mask on the statue.
At the very least, he should retroactively get a statue.
Yeah, I hope he gets one. And like you're saying, eliminating the mistakes without handicapping your strengths is really impressive. And I think
so impressive.
Irene and Artemis are the two coaches, as well as all the players themselves, deserve a lot of credit for being able to not, kind of shackle Jizuke to get everyone on the same page. The fact that he's still popping off on Rise and LeBlanc side lane, kind of solo-esque carry performances while still being on the same page is super impressive. So that's cool to see. Kumo has been better. I think when we're talking about this kind of championship contender-esque thing, a lot of times it's defined by your weakest player, because what happens is people say, that's their weak link. We're going to draft around that. We're going to play around that. And we're going to try to abuse that. And if you can't plug that gap, that's how a lot of losses happen in playoff series. So I think what EG has done so far is incredible. Like you said, second, third best team maybe. They do have a little bit of a tough week coming up, but I'm mostly watching to see how Kumo is going to look in the coming weeks, to see if he's not going to get exploited by Licorice and Broken Blade, who really enjoy playing aggressive topside matchups.
Yeah, I think it's definitely important to keep an eye on him. I also really like the point of kind of highlighting Jizuke's strengths instead of shying away from them. Yeah, I got to cast his Echo game. I was so excited because the two most iconic champions I associate with him, from Worlds, are the Rise and the Echo. He gets to play into Syndra, perfect, and he just goes on a rampage. Then they also get him the Rise. They get him to play the split pushing, and I just think that they're finally getting the fullest out of the players on this team. So super excited to see where they can go. As for TSM, they finally broke their 0-2-2-0.
A 1-1.
Oh no, things are crazy. And Mark, how did they do it? Well, it was Hakuho who put a stop to it again. Crazy. I didn't
even realize.
Yeah. Also, it's crazy because there's so many superstitions and memes and stuff that go along with this team. If you look through the list, you'll be able to pick out a couple. And yes, now it is time for the classic Hakuho defeats TSM one in the long list of
what's going to happen.
Yeah, ancient TSM old stories. But I still have confidence in this team. I have confidence in basically the top four teams that we have right now, even as much as people are saying soup and stuff like that. I think the soup is getting kind of chunky.
Yeah, I've been trying to kill that for weeks now.
Yeah. It's Mark's favorite saying. He says this on camera, but every day he's messaging me. He's like, "Bro, how do we keep this soup thing alive? It's my favorite. This is my brand."
I'm gonna turn my webcam off.
It's now a clam chowder, and I think the top ones are pretty secure up there.
Yeah, I agree. I think TSM. So to be clear, I think when I say EG is, I think, better than the record, I literally mean win-loss. I still think TSM is probably the better team. And I think, TSM has at least shown higher highs and maybe has like a less obvious weaknesses to kind of attack as far as Mark's point in the draft, because I do think that's important for going into playoffs. TSM's loss, though, that being said, was really disappointing to me.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like they have shown that they are such a strong topside 2v2 style team, playing heavily through that, aggressive early stuff on Broken Blade and Dardoch, and they go up there and they skirmish, and it's like sweet. Now they draft GP, and I think it was Sejuani, I want to say, that is on the Sunday. And it's like, okay, yeah, you can't actually go up and just 2v2 on topside. You have to show us something different. They draft Diana mid, so that's clearly where they wanted to target. And then they never ganked it. And Bjergsen just lost to Aka kind of slowly there, ended up down 130, 140 CS by the end of the game because they were kind of forced into this 4-1 where Bjergsen wasn't getting waves. Broken Blade was picking them up. But Broken Blade was basically losing 1v1 to the Ornn the whole game. His GP was not impressive at all. He was missing a lot of farm early. I think it was maybe 10:30 into the game, he had 60 CS. Part of that is he didn't know where the enemy jungler is, so he was playing more carefully. That is obviously a big thing. But managing your waves on GP can be pretty difficult because if you mess up a barrel early where you actually think you have lethal damage on the backline and you don't, then all of a sudden your minions start killing off all their minions slowly, and it's a freeze, right? And that's what it looked like to me happened. Obviously, we don't have pro view, so I couldn't actually watch the lane back. I had to kind of watch minimap and see these things. But I was really disappointed with TSM's game. It just felt like they had no idea what to do with Diana at all.
Yeah. Also, this is not the first game where people have been pretty vocal about the Broken Blade's GP specifically. Not quite getting as much damage out as you see a lot of other ones because a lot of times he only waits for barrel cooldowns, doesn't get as much use out of passive autos or trying to sneak one of those in or Qs and stuff like that. I think I saw a lot of people tweeting about it last time. Mm-hmm. As far as the Dardoch thing, Chloe actually looked into Dardoch's jungle proximity for top lane, and it wasn't abnormally high. So as much as we always think of Dardoch and Broken Blade, off the riff, they're such good friends. They're always in TSM Legends and stuff. They're talking about their synergy, and they both have big parts, especially in the team fights for the team. He hasn't spent an abnormal time towards the top lane, so it's definitely interesting to see this strategy evolve for them too.
Yeah, so I would say while jungle proximity obviously tells you how much time they're spending there, but it still doesn't show, like, it doesn't account for draft, it doesn't account for game plan and these types of things. Like in the Saturday game, for example, I think one of the things they did really well was they did, obviously Broken Blade had this defended dive top where Golden Glue then has the Summoners Blown. Then they roam mid lane with 3, they kill mid lane, then Bjergsen and Dardoch are both going top to get Broken Blade further ahead. And I think that's something that TSM does really well. It's not that, Dardoch is just living up there, but they do these 3-man dives top lane. They have these really effective 2-man skirmishes and stuff up top lane. And they're very effective with the time they spent up there. I think TSM, it really, Saturday and Sunday was like TSM at their best and TSM kind of just disappointing, because I do think TSM at their best is a really, really good team at moving advantages around the map. And I think that's something that they can do better than really any team in the league when they are really on. Seeing them take an advantage in one lane, give up something mid lane to get top lane ahead, and then top lane has push and can go mid lane and get mid lane ahead without sacrificing anything. And it becomes a snowball where people are moving their advantages around the map. And that's how I felt like we saw Saturday.
I think
so. That's why I was disappointed Sunday.
I think the thing that concerns me about Sunday is it feels like every time, sometimes they win with their weird draft picks too, when they're trying to do some interesting stuff, but almost all their losses also come with that. When they pick the Syndras and the standard things and they're playing they're like in wheelhouse champions, they look like a totally different team. And so there's a part of me that's like, when they get into a playoff series, like, is this a team that can actually adapt? As much as they have found wins on the Kiana tops and the Ornn mids and like this stuff, that's also usually when all their losses come from, the Kales, the Dianas, and these kinds of things. And so if a team hard targets like TSM's most winning champions, I wonder what happens and if they can actually adapt in a playoff series, because like you're saying, they're so good about moving around the map and when to dive and not needing to camp for Broken Blade to still play around him. Like the Bjergsen roam twice top at really good timings in the Golden Guardians game. But what happens when he's not on Syndra? It's a totally different player, it seems like.
I really like this because I wanted to highlight their upcoming match.
Mhm.
And it's very hard to refute that TSM's top side of the map, top triangle, basically jungle, top, mid, is their big strength. They're going up against 100 Thieves, which is one
Some
of the
daddy.
exactly one of the other few teams in the LCS that are also very, very focused on a top side of the map win condition. Someday has literally been the sole win condition for a lot of the 100 Thieves games. And that's why I'm so excited for the first game on Saturday to see that matchup, because like you're talking about, there's so many things that go into playing and having top lane carries, and both of these teams are the two to do it.
Yeah, I also think just in general, 100 Thieves has overperformed from my expectations. Ryoma seems to be getting better over time. He makes good plays, actually, especially out of laning phase. I feel like he plays team fights pretty correctly and has a good idea of what he wants to be doing. Sometimes in lane, he does fall behind and he gets out CS and pushed around a little bit. But outside that, and I think that's an area he can improve on, I think he looks pretty good. I'm still a little hesitant around this team because it does feel like so much is reliant on Someday being incredible, which he has been all split long, which is why I think they're in the playoff hunt. But I would like to see other people also step up to help him out, and I think TSM match is a good opportunity.
It will be pretty exciting. I do think that as much as Someday has had these monster performances, if, like you say, if that's your only win condition and you're talking about, like drafting around a team's weakness, if there's only one strength, that can be your weakness,
Yeah.
right? Like you can just triple ban this person. You can try to counterpick top every game and do these types of things to put yourself in a position where Someday can't just 1v9 the game. And that is still really nice to have on your team because it gives more flexibility for the other players on your team to get better picks and to get advantageous matchups, but they then have to be able to execute on that, right? They then have to be the win condition and be able to kind of take over a game. And we have not seen too much of that. I will say that 100 Thieves, did even against Cloud9, I was pretty impressed with Meteos. And I do think Meteos has been playing better over the last couple of weeks because he had been getting some criticism in the early weeks of not actually playing that well. So I think Meteos is kind of stepping up. I did like how 100 Thieves was able to actually hang in against Cloud9 for quite some time. They fell pretty far behind early, but then kind of stagnated the goal lead and kept it pretty even for quite some time until they got blown up in a team fight and the game ended. But that was actually looking like one where they had opportunities to kind of claw back in. And I think that should be an exciting match. And I'm pretty excited for 100 Thieves because Ryoma, as you say, that feels like one of the kind of like question marks or bets, as you would like to say, that is maybe paying off a bit, or you can see, okay, this is what you were thinking. Because Papa Xmithie did say at the start of the year that, Ryoma was like a work in progress type thing. This is more not for success right now. Hopefully they can get success, but it's more looking towards the future and what they think this player can be.
And he talked up the intangibles of Ryoma a lot. And like, weirdly, you can kind of see it in game, I think, with some of these, like knowing his moments and knowing when to try and make plays happen, like in the C9 game, finding the kill on the Blabber when he went a little bit too deep and knowing where to stand to find the punish if it happens and presents itself, which is one of those things that I think is harder to learn than people realize. Like I think you could point to the Froggen game where he's playing Kiana and trying to find flanks and stuff and like just kind of getting cut off from his team and standing in one brush too long. Like I actually think that those are some of those intangibles that maybe Papa Xmithie was talking about, just knowing where the play is going to develop and where to be to not have that kind of stuff happen. So I don't know. Ryoma's been impressive. I'm still not sold on like a late season playoff surge, but it has developed better than I thought.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, they're pretty likely to make playoffs, right? Which I think should be considered a success for this team. I wanted to talk about Cloud9 a little bit, and then we can go wherever you guys want after that. But I really was not that impressed with Cloud9 this weekend. Yes, they did win their games. Yes, they did close them out fairly quickly. But both against, their strength of schedule was pretty easy when you're taking everything into consideration. They played against CLG and 100 Thieves, and both those games actually felt like they weren't completely doomed for their opponents. There was more individual mistakes. The CLG one especially was actually quite a close game. I don't think that, C9 looked as kind of crisp and clean as usual. And I wonder if, the change in schedule and the change in environment plays into that at all. Like, I do think it's going to be really difficult for coaches to maintain some level of focus with their team and control when you are in this remote situation. When people aren't in person for VOD reviews, can you keep everyone engaged and paying attention to what you're talking about? Or are people, browsing Reddit or scrolling on their phone or doing whatever? And also I've talked to some players, and, people are saying that they need to really, like, they were kind of worried about, like, can they get in the zone? Can it feel as intense as playing on stage? And I do know from having played a lot of online tournaments, it's way more intense than playing ladder, but it is still a little bit different than when you're playing on stage. It's hard to replicate, the crowd and all these feelings that are there. So, Cloud9 did look a little bit more like loose, so to speak, and felt like they were making more errors. And I don't know if that's, just a little bit of a sloppy weekend or trying out new things, because they were trying out a lot of different stuff, or if that's, a product of their environment.
Yeah, I think it's two parts, because I definitely see the Cloud9 half of it, and all those issues are very real. I also, talking to some of the players, they talk about how important confidence is in playing this team. And this last weekend, a couple of them were specifically saying how, like, all right, they kind of needed to see C9 lose a game on stage with the TSM defeat to really kind of play out the goals that you set for yourself. Because it's one thing to set a goal for yourself and be like, all right, we'll play with nameplates off. We're going to take the regular plays that we take versus this team, right? We're gonna, we're gonna take risks. We're gonna be aggressive. We're gonna actually fight them on these early skirmishes. We're actually going to defeat them. Look, but it's another thing to see TSM actually realize it. And I think when that kind of window broke, it helped for some of the players, not all of them, of course.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying about, like, teams are more willing to fight C9 now that their impervious armor has broken. But watching the games, I still felt like a lot of it was C9 mistakes, more than I'd seen before. Like, in the TSM game when they lost, Vulcan probably had his worst game of the split, but overall the team was still playing pretty well. The 100 Thieves game, where I'm watching Blabber flash body slam and either run, once again, no pro view, so I'm not sure why, but he didn't cast his ult. Either he ran out of mana, or he just thought Kalista was closer and was going to save him. He died. Then the next time going in bot lane, throwing himself in and dying again. Like, Blabber had his worst weekend. And so that's why, for me, I'm a little bit less on the other teams really stepped up. And for me, more, I think C9 did not have a great weekend. And maybe it is some of this, if they're such a great aggressive team that other people struggle to match on stage, in scrims, maybe you're just too fast, or, like, in remote, you're too fast and loose, and you lose some of the control and, like you're saying, like, locking in that you get from playing in that heightened environment. But they're still the best team in the league.
Yeah. I mean, and in their bad weekend, they went 2-0. Right. Yeah. So there is that, and they won both their games in like 30 minutes. So
yeah, it's like one of those making a mountain out of a molehill, or whatever it is.
But that's what you have to pick at when you're judging a team that is 15-1.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think anyone's worried for Cloud9's, like, survival.
Yeah.
But it does kind of weaken it heading towards, playoffs, where if a team absolutely dominates like they had been dominating, and they only had the one hiccup, they dropped a game and they picked up right back where they left off, and finished out just as cleanly, then you're like, they're shooing for playoffs. But this makes it more exciting. I think that EG, TSM, FlyQuest, and whoever else does end up making it in are going to actually be able to push them a bit further in these best of fives.
Yeah, and I think it might bode well for TL with, maybe we're going to catch C9 at their weakest right at the end of the split, right when we're rallying, like, who knows, maybe some crazy stuff happens and TL can actually pull off the 2-0 over FlyQuest and C9 because of this.
If TL 2-0 next weekend, then they deserve to make playoffs, I think, because that's such a hard schedule. And I think that will be exciting. I mean, I kind of hope that it comes down to the last game for TL, right? Yeah. Win or lose against FlyQuest, I just hope other things happen so that they have to actually win against Cloud9 to get in, because I think that's just so exciting. It's like, you want to be in the top 6, you got to beat the number 1 team that's probably going to be sitting at 16-1 at that point. So that would be really exciting. The other thing I want to touch on with LCS quickly and kind of get you guys' thoughts on is just a little bit of this development in top lane, where we got a couple of Fiora games, we got the Kalista game.
Top lane Azael talk. Here we go.
Yeah, I have been feeling like Fiora should come in for so long. I always, with how much blind Aatrox we get, I feel like people are trolling never picking this champion. It's so good into it. It does change the way not only you have to play the game, obviously, but how your whole team has to play the game out. So split push is a very different style, and that is an important thing. And that's usually why I feel like we're not getting it. But with some of the top line changes, the itemization working, in Fiora's favor, people were doing Bork, but even Ravenous Hydra is better. Turret plates, give more gold, and Fiora's excellent at taking them. Do you think that we are seeing this as a bit of a shift in the meta, where we're going to see more split push and kind of like solo lane style stuff? Or was this just a bit of an aberration and just Huni and Lickers trying things?
I'm not sure. I think I like, we're just kind of going back to some of what you were talking about earlier with the LPL counterpick thing. Mm-hmm. I like the idea of people trying a little bit more, especially because we do have so many good top laners on some of these what feel like playoff bound teams with Someday, Licorice, Broken Blade, even Soaz to a degree has been playing Camille and some of the harder counterpick things. So I like the idea of teams willing to push beyond team fight comps and stuff like that.
So I think that there should be more. And I think that there should be more purely based off of the changes to the game that the designers have made. In solo queue, I immediately jumped on the turret plates are worth more money. So I have higher priority on Rift Herald. And you know who's by Rift Herald? All right, I guess I'm ganking for my top laner first. Congratulations. Yeah. You get what you wanted here. And also that's the lane where you have so much control of it if you can affect it early. But that's the main thing, because because Lorlo loves playing Fiora, and he's always in our Discord, and talking to him about it, like, you do have to pay so much attention to it early on. So like Azael was saying, you have to craft your game around this if you want to do that. But I think that the rewards are really big if you do. For things like solo queue, you're ganking the top lane, you get their teleport, you can circle back around, gank them again. They actually throw up their hands, they start flaming their own team. They, sometimes they quit the game, but that's not bad for you. But yeah, so I think there should be more top lane focus as far as the desync between Dragons and Rift Herald. But I think that's one of the things that has kept it from coming up until now. And Fiora specifically, I do think takes more effort and more time than a lot of the other specific champions. So that's why I think it's been so long since we've seen her actually pulled out.
All right. Have you got any Twitter questions for us, Kobe? I know you shot out a tweet. You got some good ones?
Yeah, I put one out as we jumped into the episode. We can go with the one that was in here previously from Paul.
Oh, I have a quick one here I can answer. This one's from Travis Gafford. Question for everyone. What's it been like being stuck at home with the people you live with? Well, for Kobe, it's just been horrible. Just absolutely terrible. He's been struggling. Our heart goes out to Kobe. I heard he has
this jerk roommate who won't let him get a cat for no reason.
Yeah. What's up with that? Cat for Kobe?
I really don't know what's up with that one. It's honestly a conundrum. We've been gaining ground. So I would say keep up the support.
The Cat for Kobe stocks are going up while everything else is going down.
I will say shout out to Travis Gafford, though. I have to honor him for yesterday. It was raining last night.
Yeah.
And we ordered food out, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll come with you. And then I looked outside the window and it was raining. I was like, I changed my mind. Why don't you just go ahead and get it yourself and bring that on back?
Is that an honor, Travis, to report you for bailing? I don't know.
Both. I think it's both.
So he's earning some points back.
Okay.
I have to say that's really a drop in the bucket. This giant no cat bucket.
Yeah, it's a very big bucket. It's more like a swimming pool, and that's one drop of moisture in the swimming pool.
Yeah. Previously, Paul had in here for Twitter questions. Raymond James Tayton asked us, after seeing in-house scrims last weekend, how do you think the 2016 TSM would fare on the main stage? This is assuming straight position, 4-position trade across teams. So obviously this Twitter question he pulled from previously, the week before, as it's a little bit dated, but I think the question is still interesting because that TSM also technically went 2-0.
I mean, I obviously I think they would do well, right? They did well when they were together before. I think that the team did split up, but very clearly not because they couldn't be successful in North America. They dominated in North America, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be able to replicate that similar level of success as long as they all wanted to play together and it all worked as far as that goes. But international was where their aspirations were, and that's where it fell short. And so I mean, I don't think we'll ever see those players together again either way.
I mean, I think it's possible, but it would remind me of the 2017 spring season that Doublelift took off when he was not feeling motivated. That's how I feel this would have been if, you just brought them together for this whole split, not just subbing in right now, but for the whole split. If Doublelift didn't take 2017 spring off and he didn't have the motivation to be try-harding and stuff, would he have looked like he looked at the beginning of this split where it wasn't that impressive? He wasn't dominating lanes, getting solo killed by Keith and all that stuff, because then I'm not sure that 2016 TSM roster
solo killed by Keith.
Solo killed in lane. In bot lane, it's the same thing to me as solo kill if it's a 2v2 kill.
Okay.
There's no jungler intervention. Straight up, you got outplayed because you stood behind the down.
It checks out, Mark. You got my back.
It just makes it sound like he just got tongue slapped to death by a Tom Kench or whatever.
Everyone remembers the play, all right? I don't need to say anymore.
Don't do this. I don't want to see this tongue slap.
That's what Tom Kench is doing. That thing is as big as your body. Getting licked up, Kobe.
My point is that I could see 2016 TSM having some domestic struggles if you took their arcs from this split and just transplanted them like on top of each other, because Bjergsen has been having some games where he looks like a bit of a non-factor. Doublelift has had his struggles. Svenskeren was off a little bit on the same page. If you're talking about you're taking 2016 TSM in their peak with none of the problems and putting them in, then yeah, they're probably fighting C9 for first place. But if you're taking the players as they are right now and just sticking them all together again, I think it's actually not as dominant as our history, or as their history was.
All right, I got a pretty interesting one for you. Cam Edgecombe asks, if you had to add a 5th elemental Drake, what would it be? Or if you had to redesign one of the regular jungle camps, which would it be and what would change? I'm going to stick with the dragon question. And since I already read this question and if I had longer to think about it, I'll answer first. So I'll give you guys some time.
I'm already ready.
I could see your eyes moving quick. I shall create a 5th dragon, and it will be the magnet dragon, where you get this buff. You have a clickable buff now on your either hotbar or a button that you have, or even by your champion or something. You can reverse polarities. So you can either have this have a slight nudge back on champions that get close to you. Your AD carries can turn that on, or it draws champions towards you if you want to reverse the polarity there and you're the engaged for your team.
So if both teams get one of these Drakes and I'm a marksman player and I'm trying to kite somebody running at me, we're both just switching polarities nonstop, because I'll go negative and then you'll go positive, and then I'll go positive and you'll go negative. And like,
it's a skill intensive Drake. Okay. I'm not adding some generic boring dragons here, Mark.
I'll give you that, Kobe. That's a certainly T design. I would rip off Rise of the Elements set to TFT and add Light and Shadow. And
what do they do?
And so in TFT, when you die as a shadow, you give a damage buff to other shadows. And then in Light, when you die, you heal them and give them attack speed. right?
Didn't Shadows just had buffs for
Oh, maybe it's just buffs at start of round, and then when you got a kill.
So Shadows, yeah, it reset on when you get a kill, and then if you have all the Shadows, then everyone got it.
Yeah, Shadows got a buff to themselves whenever they took down a unit. Light was when they died, they buffed your whole board. I don't know, something like that, where when you die in a team fight, you just like give a bunch of healing and attack speed to your team, something like that.
This would be insanely OP, but just hearing Shadow made me think of, you remember your old Yorick ult, where you essentially die and then you could like come back and keep fighting as a Shadow? I just immediately started thinking of like a Shadow Dragon where you come back from the Shadow Realm and you just like, you have, 2 seconds or 3 seconds or something of like, you get to keep attacking, or, however long it is after you die. I think that would be pretty crazy. Probably way too imbalanced or really hard to balance, but just fun idea, right? Kind of like the magnet. And then, I mean, I guess something more vanilla and generic that maybe could work. I haven't really thought about this for very long. Is just a dragon that is actually reducing the cooldown of summoner spells. Because I always really enjoy playing around Flash and these types of things. With Cloud,
the Zoe dragon.
Yeah, I mean, Cloud is now ultimate cooldown. What about summoner spell cooldown? I think that would be really fun. A game where you have, say half the cooldown on Flash or something like that.
That'd be so cool, so nuts.
Yeah, I mean, if you stack 4 of these dragons or whatever, right? You get like, I don't know how much you get, but
the summoner spell soul for your dragon is you get a third one now, and you have 3 buttons.
Oh, that would be hype. Exactly. Use Flash and just replaces it with another one or something.
There's like a Poro dragon, you kill it, and it gives you the Mark and Dash from ARAM.
Snowball.
You get that.
All right, I got another one for you guys. This one I picked out because I kind of forgot about this whole situation. Honestly, we've been whole wrapped up in the season, but he says, let's see, it was Coach Curry. Coach Curry is actually a coach. I don't know if this is the real Coach.
I think he
Curry,
has a different name.
Yeah, because this is Josh Curry, 38. Anyways, he asked, at Sneaky, with Sneaky still without a team, do you think that we will see him return for the summer split? And if so, which team? Can you highlight that, Mark?
You're reading it off my highlight?
Which team could use him most?
This is a tricky one because, as I think we've all heard, teams were interested in Sneaky. It was about the business end of it matching up.
Yeah.
With it, not about like if people still think he's good enough or if he deserves a shot in the LCS. I think everyone still thinks that he's still a great player. I haven't been keeping up with him, so I don't know. I assume he's been playing a lot of streaming and solo queue like he always has.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume he's still in, shape, so to speak.
Do you think a team would be more willing now to pay up and get him in, basically? Like, which team do you think would need Sneaky the most?
It's tough. I think there's a couple. Like, Dignitas is the one I think people instantly jump to. Not like Johnson's bad, but they need something else, some change up to get this team over into the playoff hump, because it does feel like they're not going to make it right now. So I think that's the first one people leap to. Maybe a CLG or something like that as well. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a bit tough to know where it would be best for him to go. Yeah, I mean, you could maybe see Dig as like the most obvious one, or CLG. Yeah, because CLG has been having a lot of struggles. I don't think we'll see him because, my understanding is just that people wanted him, but Sneaky is a really popular player, has a huge brand and a huge stream, and you've obviously got to make it worth his while for him to not be streaming full time to be on your team, right? So if he's gonna need like a massive contract to get him,
they're coming.
If you're looking,
I hear that siren.
Yeah.
Then especially if you're thinking about Dig, if Dig is the team you think is most likely, like, would they be able to add like a ginormous contract on top of the ginormous Huni contract that they already are holding? Does CLG have the money to drop an $800,000, $1 million contract for Sneaky? I have no idea.
And the thing too is, it's like one of those, not quite a sunk cost fallacy, but if I'm Dignitas, I'm like, I'm already paying a buttload of money for this roster. Yeah. If we're not even going to make playoffs, I think you either have to be willing to spend even more and try and get over the hump, or you probably should start looking at jettisoning some of this stuff because you're not good right now and you're paying a lot. So what's the plan here? So that's why I kind of am like, well, I mean, yeah, it's a fat contract, but you're already paying fat contract. I know there's budgets and actual limits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You can't just say drop another amount. But
does dropping 800K or whatever on Sneaky for a year actually make you go to Worlds, right? If it does, then maybe someone would be willing to really drop like for a fat contract. But Sneaky doesn't need to be a pro. Like, he has a great successful career streaming, so that's the thing. It's different with some other players who are like that has to be their job. They're going to be more willing to negotiate. Sneaky doesn't need to negotiate. He's doing great.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I think it has to be looked at from the team perspective and not really Sneaky's, because like I was saying, if Dignitas isn't going to make a play, like can't make Worlds with Sneaky, and they're already paying a bunch of money, well then do something else with your roster probably. You have Afro, you have Frog, and you have Huni. Those are all probably somewhat expensive players. They're veterans. They've been in the scene a long time. So I don't know. The only other one I would maybe consider. Is there anyone else you guys would consider as a team for Sneaky other than CLG and Dig?
I think
go ahead.
I was just going to say CLG is my immediate answer for anyone picking up any position besides mid, honestly.
I mean, I do think Immortals. I think he's better than the players on a lot of teams. It's just if you're thinking about it from team point of view, like how huge of an upgrade is he versus how much more he may cost, right? I think that is the realistic calculation that people are trying to make, because Sneaky, I think, is and would still be, top 3, top 4 AD in the league. Just sub him right in right now, and I still think he would be, that level. He has been that level for so many years. But it's how much better is he than number 5, number 6 if he's going to cost 3, 4, 5 times as much as that person? Is it worth that much more? And that, I think, is what teams would be struggling with. And
Immortals in particular has, even back when they were Optic, have been a team that has valued efficiency in some sense. I know Travis Gafford did a video about, he took the amount of wins people had and how much he knew that they were spending on their salaries, because he got those figures, and he said, like, how much are they paying per win? And Immortals was always relatively cost effective while being at around that 6-7 mark. So they definitely seem to be not one of the teams that would shell out for Sneaky to get an upgrade.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of The Dive. Thank you for joining us, and tune back in this weekend for more LCS action. 2 p.m. start time once again on Saturday as normal. Everything will keep chugging along.
Keep on chugging. Hopefully we'll get some Kobe this weekend.
No Kobe, I'm no Mark either. We're
no
standing
Kobe,
in solidarity.
No dive.
If Kobe's not there, then I'm not there.
Yep, that's true. Same.